what have you been most proud of, sort of that you felt like has been one of your biggest achievements in your clinical or even in your research career so far?
Yeah. Well,
I'm sure there's many, that's why it's probably difficult to pick one or two.
When I think about it, really, it should be my research on color Doppler in gynecology, because when I started, we knew virtually nothing about it, and now it's an integral part in every gynecological, almost every gynecological ultrasound examination, and we did very structured work to elucidate the clinical importance of color Doppler. We examined reproducibility, we established normal values and so on. And all that it's forgotten now, because now it's in clinical practice. But all the work behind, well, it's almost forgotten, but it's a lot of work. And actually, I was the first one to suggest subjective evaluation of the color content of the tumor scan, which is now included, for example, in the IOTA terms and definitions. Yeah. So that's one thing that I should be proud of, but that I had almost forgotten myself. But my spontaneous answer, on the other hand, without thinking, would be the IOTA collaboration, which I started together with Dirk Timmerman, Tom Bourne, Ignaz Fagot, and William Collins in 1997. And within the IOTA project, I am most proud of the IOTA 5 study, because that was actually my idea, that we should follow up women with benign looking adnexal masses to find out about the natural history of benign looking adnexal masses. For me, that is the most important IOTA study and a very important study in gynecology. We have published the 2-year interim analysis. Now all women have been followed up for at least 5 years. So we are currently planning a 5-year interim analysis. That's really my baby and my passion, driven by my curiosity.
No, I think it's so important, because it's not important. It's not just only important from a research aspect in terms of knowing about the natural history of these benign lesions, but also for someone who may not be scanning, who may see a patient coming into their clinic and has a report. It's how you counsel the patient in terms of what you're going to do for them, how you reassure them and sort of tell them what can happen over time if things are left. So this is so important, not only from a research side of things, but also from a clinical management side of things as well. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's changed practice for many, many people, I'm sure worldwide as well, of how we would deal with these things. And so what would you say that keeps driving you? Because, you know, you've been doing this for so long. What keeps motivating you to carry on with research and with discovering new ideas?
I think it is curiosity. That I really want to, yeah, I'm curious about, I want to answer questions. And also, curiosity is one thing, but also a willingness to improve things, to improve gynecological diagnosis, to improve the management of women with gynecological problems. So I think it's these two things.
And I suppose also for some of our other viewers, like who'd be listening and watching us, so what would you say is a typical week in the world of Professor Lil Valentin?
A typical week, I think we need to go back a few years, because I'm now a senior professor, you know. So nowadays, well, a typical week, I have, shall we say, on average, 3 clinical sessions per week where I do ultrasound examinations of patients. And then the rest of the time nowadays, I do research, I write manuscripts, I supervise PhD students, I review manuscripts for journals. I prepare lectures, I give lectures, I organize courses. So that takes up most of my time, more than clinical work, actually. And when I see patients, some of them are, of course, IOTA 5 follow-up patients, because we still follow these patients up. If we go back a few years, my work also included, of course, teaching medical students. I'm no longer involved in that, and examining medical students and so on. So actually, I think being a professor is, it offers you a very diverse life. You know, you have so many different things. You have clinical work, you have academic work, and you can, nowadays we cannot travel anymore, but usually we could travel to congresses, meet other colleagues who do research and so on. So it's a very exciting life.
Yeah. And what would you say, so if someone's interested, and, you know, the tips that you would give to somebody who is, say, a budding clinical researcher out there, but just wants to just get involved a bit more, if they came up to you at, say, the next face-to-face World Congress, what would be the sort of 3 top tips that you would give them for sort of starting this career path?
I think the most important thing is to find a project that really interests you, because that's what guarantees success and guarantees that this person will continue with research. So you really need to find a project that interests you. And of course, to find a good supervisor, that's very important. I think what is needed from the person who wants to do research, I mean, what qualities would that person need to have? I would say curiosity and passion, and willingness to work very hard.
Yeah, I think probably.
And it's not a problem to work hard if you have passion for what you are doing, which means that you must have a project that really interests you.
Yeah, because you find if it's a passion that and you really enjoy it, you don't see it so much as work.
No,
because it ends up becoming sort of, you know, a bit of a hobby, and you enjoy doing it as well. So you know, it brings you a lot of satisfaction. So yeah, no, that's great advice for anybody who is interested in clinical research and who may be wanting to get involved. And you heard it from Professor Lil Valentin as well. So be curious and find a project that you're passionate about, and also I think finding, like you said, the right supervisor and the right mentor to help guide you, because this is a journey. It's not something that we are inherently born knowing how to do. You sort of learn along the way, and it's important to have people around you, you know, work in a team that, you know, that can guide you through that process, really. So yeah, well, thank you so much, Professor Valentin. I know you're incredibly busy, and we really appreciate it from behalf of all of the NGen committee at ISUOG. Thank you so much for being our first guest, and we look forward to collaborating with you again in the future.
Thank you so much.